going on, everybody? We're back. We have a full NFL slate, and I couldn't be more excited. It's going to be really fun. We've been doing really well with the baseball. Quick reminder, check out truedfs.com. You can see my exact ownerships. You can see Sheets and Sheets. You can have all my bets of the day, my plays of the day, and it's free for the first month. So I would suggest you guys try to get in on it now because we're probably going to be shortening that very soon. So Sheets, with that said, what are your, we talked a little bit about it in the Showdown slate. You got off to a hot start last year. So you're the week one whisperer as far as True DFS is concerned. So any overall thoughts before we start getting into game by game? Because it is a big slate with a lot of options.
Well, first of all, I just want to let you guys know, I'm going to be doing the same thing I did last year. I am going to start off playing all three sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. Yahoo is I'm probably going to end up dropping out of Yahoo after a couple of weeks because they have the big guarantee in the first week, but they've done some pretty awful decision-making with respect to their players and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that the prize pools are going to go way down like really, really quickly on Yahoo. So I might not end up doing it, but until then, I am going to be putting up my sheets for both, for all three sites. And I guess what I would say, I don't know how much you went over this with Rhodey in general, as far as general thoughts with DFS. Well, with football, again, I'm putting up my sheets, I'm putting up my projections stuff. But remember that projections are not the end of the road. You know, they're not as important as they are in basketball. I would say that they're more important than baseball, but they're not as important as they are in basketball, for example. And with NFL, it's such an event-driven sport that you know, you're going to want to get those guys with big touchdown upside, and you want to have those games that just freaking blow up, you know, and there's no median projection model that's going to help you when you're not on the game that goes 45-32, you know what I mean? So every single year where I think that, okay, this is going to be the end of not the end, but at least the scoring's going to be leveling out. There's a new season of freaking just games going ballistic, you know, as teams kind of catch on to, you know, going for it on fourth down, that passing a lot, you know, featuring running backs out of the backfield instead of like jamming it up the middle, you know, going for two, all kinds of stuff. It's just going to just continue to provide more points until further notice, you know. So you're going to have to, you know, find those if you're going to win GPPs. Now, I think we're going to continue to make this about a GPP, you know, show, you know. And that's what we're going to be focused on. So you're going to find, you know, a lot of, you know, even though I put my sheets up, whatever, when it comes to playing like the Millie Maker or whatever it is, if you run like lineups that just get the median projections and put them together, you really have no chance to win. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to just find big upside, take shots at somewhat low ownership. You know, you don't have to go that crazy, but you know, that's my overall thoughts on playing NFL. And I use SaberSim, I use Roto Grinders HQ to help me build my lineups, you know, whatever it is. Because if I just went based on my projections, I'd end up with like freaking Chalk City, and that's just not the way that you win these types of things.
Totally agree. With that said, why don't you bring up your screen and we'll start off with this first game at Philadelphia, Atlanta. This is
so overall slate, by the way. Remember, football, I really do believe that it's one of those sports where you're going to like every lineup you put in as soon as you make it. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, well, and then like you're all set to go. And then at 1:00 at like 1:04, somebody hits a touchdown. You're like, who? You know, like I don't have that. You know, whatever it is. So just be prepared to love your lineups and not necessarily love your results. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I actually, you know, again, in the theme of like trying to find games to target or whatever it is, I actually, for me, like right off the bat, this is one of them. Is Philly Atlanta. I'm playing 20 lineups in the Millie Maker, and I'm basically going to have concentrated on 3 games, on 3 of them. And this is actually just turned out to be one of them. I used my sheets, I built some lineups, I hope to get some low ownership, whatever it is, and so this is one of them. I do like that on the Atlanta side, Ryan with Ridley, and there's a chalky tight end option here. Kyle Pitts. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then on the Philly side, I liked like Rieger, I think.
Yeah.
On the Philly side. Hurts, I think, is going to be, by the way, a very, very good fantasy option all year long. He showed flashes of it towards the end of last year. And I think that along the theme that we talked about going, last season is that with the exception of Mahomes, you're just going to want, guys that can run for touchdowns. You're going to want quarterbacks with that type of upside. I think Hurts is certainly in that mix. So I think this game is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I have this as a game I'm interested in. I will be maxing the $5 or whatever the first week for the Giant.
How many are you going to play in the 100?
I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to decide on that one.
Okay.
I tend to like to wait till week 3 or 4 in the NFL to where I really start going nuts. But I definitely want to get some exposure there because the $5. I mean, this is going to be a massive thing. Unlike the showdown though, like we just talked about, you're going to actually be able to get different, and you're probably going to have an individual winner pretty much all the time here.
Yep.
So, but as far as this game goes, highest levels of interest, Devonta Smith, I think is a terrific spend down that's going to be low owned for Philadelphia. He would be my favorite place to attack there. I'm open to Miles Sanders, but I don't, we've said forever now that pass catching backs against Atlanta, I think their defense is a little better this year, a little better. Miles Sanders is on my list as well. But I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to pull the trigger because there's so many options at running back here. And in general, I would always like to take shots with quarterbacks that are like Jalen Hurts here. And I do have some interest in him. I just think there's guys I like a little bit better than him as I move through. And I personally am not getting to any Ryan, but I do think I do like the Calvin Ridley call. I think if Russell Gage is an interesting play. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to go there because there's other plays I like better. But the Mike Davis and honestly, Mike Davis, along with the Atlanta defense, especially because their price, are probably my highest levels of interest in this game. So that's where I'll be. And on the other side, like I said, on the other side, I do like Devonta Smith as an option for Philadelphia. I think he's going to have a solid year, and I want to get him while no one is, even though you're hearing people talk about him, but I'm not seeing him getting a lot of ownership. So that's where I stand for this one.
And I'll second your Russell Gage call. He was, he's. I think that Ryan, Ridley, Gage, Pitts. I think they're all in play. Mm-hmm. And I have that Smith guy actually having my season long that Philadelphia. So I'll be rooting for him anyway.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I didn't even know. Oh yeah. And what about, are you doing the 2+2 thing this year?
The guy texted me, they might not have enough guys. They might not do it. They only have like 8 or 9 guys. He wanted to have at least 10, 12 guys. So I'll let you know that. But I really wanted, on the one hand, I really wanted to defend my title. But then again, like retiring as the never to be dethroned champion is not bad either. And the problem, by the way, the reason why it's harder for him to get people is because it's a 2+2 and no one goes to 2+2 anymore. I don't know. I'll let you know. As of now, no. But actually now, yes. But I'll let you know for sure.
All right, sounds good. Let me know. All right, so move on to the next one. Why don't you start us off with this game? I'm still loading our last video, so trying to multitask here, and it's sometimes it gets a little slow on my computer. So if you don't mind starting off the next game, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to also let you know that I did a video on this within Sheets tutorials. One of the things that in my sheets that I do is I rank stacks or whatever by value and by modified value and by raw points. And I also have two totally different views. One, if you want to play the quarterback with 2 receivers as opposed to quarterback with 3 receivers or whatever it is. With that said, I actually do have a little bit of interest in the Jacksonville side of this. With using Trevor Lawrence, and then the other, who's he? Chenault? Was he the guy that I liked? Let me just double check this. Sorry about this.
No, it's all right.
It was Trevor Lawrence, and then Marvin Jones, right? So Marvin Jones is going to be probably one of the chalky. There's a couple of them, but
I don't think he'll be that chalky, but I could, because of the couple. But yeah, I hear you. He definitely will stand out. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's a standout. So it's Trevor Lawrence with Marvin Jones and Chenault. I do think that on the one hand, rookie quarterbacks could have growing pains, as they always do. But remember, we're playing GPPs, and you also want to embrace variance a little bit. So and it's kind of interesting for me to make this case, just coming off of a recommendation of Matt Ryan, who's like the opposite, right? But I think playing some of these younger guys, whether they be wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, or quarterbacks, I think makes a lot of sense. So I think Houston overall is going to be just very poor. Not that Jacksonville is going to be good either, but I think that I don't know. I could see Trevor Lawrence winning the $1 million in the first week right out of the gate. I mean, why not? So I do like that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not getting to Lawrence myself, but I believe in him and all that stuff for his future. This is a game where I think Texans are like extraordinarily bad. And I don't have any interest in really trying to play them, which then leads me to, well, why don't I play just James Robinson and the Jacksonville defense and actually prioritize that? I think that's what I'm leaning on doing. And I do think the Jags D are one of my favorites. I mentioned the Atlanta D. I like them as well. But I think that we could see an absolute, just a really, really, really bad Houston team get pummeled here. And I'm actually surprised. I mean, the Jags aren't anything special, but they're 3.5-point favorites on the road, just to give you an idea. Maybe they'll surprise us. Tyrod Taylor has always been an underrated player, in my opinion, but I'm very high on James Robinson. I'm very high on the Jacksonville defense, and I want to not get too spread out. Of course, there's a bunch of other plays I could mention in this game, but I'm just not going to be playing them. So I feel like I would just sort of be doing a disservice. Just double checking real quick on I mean, there's really nothing else that I'm actually going to end up playing from this game. So, and going back to the first game, you mentioned Pitts. I love Pitts. He's going to be popular, but I do think that he's as good a point per dollar play at tight end. This guy is this sounds crazy, but I would be surprised if this guy literally doesn't end up like as a top 5 tight end of all time. He is a whole different level of talent, and I don't think I'm alone in that thinking. I think he's really, really special. So I just wanted to touch on that because I forgot to mention it. All right, let's move over to a game that I am extremely interested in every which way. I really want to stack this game up. I want to play Russell Wilson. I want to play DK Metcalf, who's not going to get much ownership. I want to play Tyler Lockett, and where I'm not playing DK Metcalf. I want to play Michael Pittman a ton on the other side. He will be the popular play in this game, but if you're going to make that other part of the stack, I think he's a great run back. You can play Paris Campbell as well for low ownership. This is a spot I'm into, and I really want exposure here. You get Seattle on the turf, Indy, who's a solid team. I don't care about how good their defense is. I want a game where Russell Wilson might have to struggle to beat somebody, and I think this is a reasonable spot for it. I don't think I'm going to get up to the 8K for Jonathan Taylor, and I think Chris Carson is a fantastic value, but I'm not going to stack him with Wilson. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I do think Chris Carson is a good value play as well. Very interested in this game in general, particularly the 2 receivers I mentioned from Indy, and then the main receivers for Seattle and Russell Wilson as a combination. I think we see a big year out of Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is going to be in the hunt for the MVP this year. And I think that, one other play in this game, if you're going to play Wilson with one of the receivers instead of 2, play Russell Wilson and one of the receivers with Gerald Everett is a really nice pivot and a cheaper price than Pitts, even though I love Pitts. But Gerald Everett fits in well. This is a game that I want to do business in. I really want some exposure here. I think we could see a game get really like, it's not that Indy's defense is so bad or anything. I like Russell Wilson against teams that it's tough. And as we know, he got off to a flying start last year and then really, really struggled towards the end of the season. I think that we're going to see a lot more Russell Wilson show early in this year. So I am very high, especially on the turf.
I will devil's advocate this just a little bit.
Go for it.
And again, you can make cases for every game or whatever it is and why you can fade every game and all this stuff. But, as you mentioned at the very end of your discussion, he got off to a flying start and you want to say he struggled. I would not even go so far to say that. As you may or may not recall, with about 6-7 weeks to go of the season. Yeah,
that was a foolish move on their part.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what I'm going to talk about yet until I say it. Is they actually just said not they're going to shut him down, but it's not going to be the Russell Wilson show anymore. Like they're not going to make him carry the team. They're not going to make him throw the ball a zillion times or whatever it is. And they did as a team struggle, I think, as a result of that. But I am, Seattle's, and what's his name? They're a funny bunch. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised to actually see that continue. The thing that could stop that from continuing is the fact that, and you alluded to this before, is that DJ Metcalf is insane. I mean, like that, I don't want to say best or top 3, 4, 5, whatever, but he's got to be in consideration for being one of the top wide receivers in the league. I don't know what that means, what top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but guy's really big. The guy's really fast, and the guy is great. You know what I mean? And he's got a great quarterback that could throw to him, and the guy that knows how to throw to him. He throws the ball up in the air, and I think DJ Metcalf could be, the highest priced wide receiver really, really quickly in this league. So that would be my only devil's advocate again in Seattle is just I would say game script, just basically just franchise script. Like that would be my only thing against it. With that said, I think Chris Carson, as he's not a guy I usually like to play, but really I think what's that?
He's really cheap though.
Yeah, he's really cheap, and if in fact it is going to be that kind of a thing for Seattle, I think Chris Carson makes a little sense. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, obviously he's got a lot of talent, but they didn't really go to him in the passing game all that much, I don't think. I think that what's his name is not the worst play in the world. Who's the other? Nyheim Hines. He could be. He's not the worst.
He's a little pricey for this slate, like just as a shared running back. But I hear you.
No, definitely. And yeah, like Michael Pittman seems to be kind of like the kind of the play du jour. Everybody kind of wants to play. Yeah, I mean it's fine. I think that if you're gonna pick a position to not be chalky at, I think wide receiver is a good one. So I don't, and then again, I don't know if anybody's gonna be that chalky wide receiver except for Marquise Callaway, right?
Pittman will be up there. He'll be up there.
Yeah. So I mean, I have no problem fading Michael Pittman if you want. I mean, like whatever.
Oh yeah, play. But I do think that lends itself to maybe playing some Paris Campbell.
Right. So I'm probably, if I had to rank the game, I'll probably be a little underweight on this one. And again, that's not saying much. I'm only playing 20 lineups or whatever. So I mean, we can't agree on everything. So I'll go with the Seattle and Indianapolis is not as exciting.
Yeah, that's good by me. I think I'm so drawn to the ownership on Russell Wilson being non-existent. I don't even know how to get past it. So I just had and DK Metcalf at less than 5% ownership is in a spot where I feel like he could have be the highest scoring player on the slate. I'm sort of obsessed with it for a lot of reasons, but I really like that spot. And because of everything you said, which I totally agree with about the franchise thing, I just think that did they learn their lesson? Like, I mean, we saw what happened when they let him cook. Let him cook. That's my take. But anyway, we can move over to the Jets, Carolina. This is a weird game because it's not all that exciting at first glance. I think that Darnold is like in between. I think he's better than people think, and I think he's worse than a lot of people think. But the people I think that he's worse than are people who know a lot more about football than I do, like GMs who have actually been high on this guy for a while, and he's still only 23 years old. Like, we should give the kid a break. But I have some interest. It's weird though, not so much in a game stack, except for when you look at these prices. I think that DJ Moore is an awesome receiver. He is a guy I want to get exposure to. I think Corey Davis on the other side is really interesting depending on his health level. And then you've got the minimum cost Elijah Moore, who's supposed to have some ownership, but again, not everybody can have ownership. And even Terrence Marshall would fall into that category as well at minimum cost. So there's a lot of guys you can play at cheap prices, and I think Moore is one of them. I think Marshall's one of them too, but I think I would more be looking for the DJ Moore, both Moores, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, and then I have interest in the Sam Darnold a little bit at his 5K price tag, but I just don't think you necessarily are going to need it. I think that maybe the easiest, best play in this game is just to play the Jets defense too, on the flip side of all this, because they're 2.4 and we have seen Darnold struggle at times, even though I just said some decent things about him. I think the Jets defense is a very solid option.
Yeah, I think that Sam Darnold's going to be probably a pretty well spoken for cash quarterback this week, actually, at 5K. And yeah, DJ Moore is, he's coming into his own, and the cheap wide receiver is what's Terrence Marshall, whatever it is. Robbie Anderson is going to be, but to me, it's Christian McCaffrey, right? I mean, like for me, I want to go back to playing him. I mean, remember,
I just missed him. My bad. I just forgot to say his name.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt most of last year, and I think career-wise, it's probably saved. Carolina wasn't going anywhere last year anyway. So I think Carolina's a 7-point favorite, I guess, over just a crappy team, and I think that McCaffrey's can just go ballistic here. I mean, if that's what they want to do. So that's the thing about putting Darnold as like, I don't think that Darnold is going to win like many GPPs. You know what I mean? I just don't. I just rather have guys that I think can throw 4 touchdown passes. And he could throw 3 touchdown passes to McCaffrey. I mean, he can certainly do that.
That's true.
But I don't know I think Darnold is going to be more of a cash play, actually, just because of his price. And I don't even know if I want to do that. I don't know. If you look at my sheets, I think I have Darnold rated as like one of the top quarterbacks, not the top quarterback. I really feel as though that if you can play McCaffrey, you should play him, and that's just kind of where I'm at. Yeah. And I'm not particularly interested in the Jets defense, because I think that they're cheap, but I just don't know where they're going to get their points from. I think that Darnold, his first game for Carolina, I think this is his job. I know the GMs love him. I think his job is to just get the ball out to McCaffrey and win the game. You know what I mean? I don't know. So that's where I'm at in this game. Are you interested in this in like the Millie Maker, or you?
Yeah. I definitely will have some exposure. I'll have the Darnold to Moore and McCaffrey and run it back on the other side with the other Moore, Elijah Moore or Corey Davis. And by the way, if Jamison Crowder is a full go, I might have to do something with that, because I just think that, by the way, Tyler Kroft is 2.5K. This is it's just full of cheap plays. Like, again, maybe they don't win you the thing, but you have, get 4 plays in this game, they score 20 fantasy points at their prices, and you hit on all your spend ups.
Right.
You can sort of, stack it in a bunch of different ways that make a lot of sense from a point per dollar perspective. So that's why I sort of have it as one of my games that it's mildly interesting to me.
Okay.
But we're probably talking about me being like, 5 to 10% at most on most of those guys. Not necessarily,
fair enough.
Maybe a little bit higher.
And are you going to be doing the same thing, by the way, with football? As we get to like Fridays, you're going to be putting your ownership up on True DFS like that?
Yeah, I'll put it exactly as I have it scripted. So I did it today for the showdown. I took the picture of it and showed it, put it up there. So we'll definitely be doing that. Minnesota and Cincinnati here. We're supposed T. Higgins is way too cheap, as is about 700 other plays on this slate. I am not as interested in this game stack. I think Joe Burrow is too cheap as well for what he's going to do this year. But yet I don't, Burrow to Higgins, sure. And then you run it back. Obviously, you've got the options on the other side. The popular play, Dalvin Cook, who's going to be the chalk, which I'm totally fine with. There's just going to be a lot of spend ups at running back we can choose from. Dalvin Cook and McCaffrey are certainly gettable because of the cheap value we have at wide receiver. But I think it's interesting to play either Thielen or Jefferson here. That would be where I would go. I just don't have this as one of the games that I'm specifically trying to target, but I don't mind any of those plays I just mentioned.
And this is the point, you know what I mean? Like you could make a great case for this game if you wanted to. Yep. Burrow's coming back. He's T. Higgins is cheap. Tyler Boyd is good. You have like very natural. I don't even say run backs. So maybe Minnesota is the team you're supposed to stack. Maybe you're supposed to put Cousins or whatever is on top of with Jefferson. Jefferson had a really, really good season last year. But Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I mean, this game could blow up too. You know what I mean? Like I think this is one of those games that could explode. I'm gonna have a little bit of it. It's not one of my main 3, but it's certainly a secondary piece. And I think that this game, I think where the production's coming from here.
Right.
And I think its game is completely in play. And I like both running backs. I like Mixon, and I like Cooks. I mean, I think this game is very logical.
Yep. Yeah, and I didn't mention much about Mixon, but I do like Mixon a little bit as well. I just think there's a lot of guys to choose from. Cook makes sense, but it's going to be, really popular. It's going to be very popular this week for everybody to spend up on running back, spend down at wide receiver. It's just really easy to do. So finding the mid-tier receivers that we like T. Higgins even is actually going to be popular, but like guys in that 4K to 6K range, I think are kind of interesting because it's going to force you to balance out your build. And I think most people are going spend up at running back, spend down at wide receiver. That's pretty much all I have for that one. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, this game to me is one of the nut games, I would think. I mean, this is, you have Arizona against Tennessee, and Arizona plays like freaking lightning. And I'll tell you something else. Tennessee started to play freaking fast also last year, kind of sneaky. And they got Julio Jones too.
Yep.
I mean, Tannehill, AJ Brown, and Julio Jones, and you got Kyler Murray, and what's his name? They got some young guy who's super cheap, right? The Rondale Moore, and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, this game could score freaking 85 points. No, I mean, this is to me, this is one of the three games I have. So for me, the Philly Atlanta game, this Arizona Tennessee game, I really feel this game is going to be a clown show. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of freaking points scored in this game. I think Arizona's going to score more of them, kind of like trying to come back, I guess. But you know what? I mean, Tennessee, they gave up some stuff last year too. I don't know. I think this game is going to be a wild.
Yeah, you also, I mean, there's also, they sort of have a little bit of a potential timeshare, but I think Chase Edmonds is kind of interesting at running back. I think he'll have some ownership. I get the love for the game. I'm still on the Tennessee plays a little bit slower, but I love DeAndre Hopkins anyway.
Yep.
I like the Hopkins, and I really, really like the play of the pivot of Derrick Henry off of this is the same story we have all year, right? Every year. Derrick Henry, and except for the occasional week where he's crazy owned, you get him at 4 or 5%, and you've got Cook and McCaffrey at 20+%. And this week feels like that week to me, and I will be happy to take a shot on Derrick Henry against this Arizona team instead of those guys. I also think Julio Jones at unowned 6,800 is appealing to me. There's AJ Brown. I'm into the Rondale Moore thing, but a little bit less so maybe than other people will be. I think that the other value is a little better for me personally. But I wouldn't be surprised if he had a solid game. I personally am sided the other way. I'm not as high on the overall game stack. I do like the Murray. You can play the Murray Hopkins, and if I was doing that though, I probably would just run it back, assuming that they got the lead and they were trying to run it out with like a Derrick Henry thing. Maybe you could argue for a Julio also in that lineup. So I'm okay with it. I guess I thought it would be a little bit chalkier, this stack. It is going to be popular to play Kyler Murray, but not that popular. So maybe I need to think a little bit more about this one. I just don't want to be too spread out week one, but I do like it.
Next game is, I think, the game where I'm going to have zero. But I will comment on the fact that I'm going to be expecting to play one or two or both of these guys at some point this season. Specifically the IU. I mean, you were on to him before anybody last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And he was an uber talent before he got hurt. And Samuel too. I think this is a very, very dangerous duo. I think that Mostert's very dangerous too. I just think that this game is going to be an S show. I think that San Francisco is going to just handle them, and they're not going to even need to flex muscles at all. So for me, I'm probably just basically off this entire game.
Yeah, because of the value we were talking about, and it's funny because I like spending down on defense, something I usually do. I think San Francisco's defense, I was talking about with Rhodey, I literally think they have I would bet them to score a touchdown. I think it's like 3-1 or something like that.
Right.
I really think there's a good chance of it. I've seen Jared Goff play long enough as a Rams fan, and I can't be happier to have him gone. I really think that the Niners defense, even at a crazy price tag, along with Mostert, who was, again, your week one hero last time. No ownership, and he was in that lineup for you.
Yeah.
I think Mostert has an extremely high upside. They will share the ball in the backfield a little bit.
Yep.
I think less so than they have. You'll get some Trey Sermon, don't get me wrong. But I like the idea of taking some Mostert. Guy could literally 2 plays into the game. You might be just, goal or two offensive possessions for San Francisco, and you might already be good enough with him. That's how much I like him in general. But there are just other guys I like better, just in the complete transparency angle. But yeah, I agree with you. In general, not a game for me that's not the San Francisco running back and the Niners defense is a fine combination.
Well, dude, how many points is next game going to score? Like Buffalo, Pittsburgh. I mean, what is this?
So Pittsburgh finally shored things up with they really were good defensively last year. But yeah, it's very hard not to like the Diggs and Josh Allen combo. And that is probably going to be one of the more popular quarterback to receiver combos. I do have this as a game. And I think Najee Harris I'll call it right now. Najee Harris might be the best, I bet you he's like a top 5 running back, maybe higher even, maybe like by the end of the year. This guy, we've seen what Pittsburgh running backs can do, and he's actually talented. Buffalo's defense is good as well, but I'm very happy to go with the Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, potentially even Emmanuel Sanders, who's 4,100, which feels kind of cheap, but there's a lot of options. He's also got Gabe Davis in there. It's hard with the receivers in this game because there's so many to choose from, and I think my strongest stance would be probably Claypool and Diggs, but I don't think you're getting anything crazy off the board, except for Claypool will be really low owned. I like this game. It's another one that I could see really shooting out, but I don't know that I want to put all of my. It's not like I feel like it's an automatic or anything like that. I do love Najee Harris, and I do like. I'm going to play Josh. I'm going to try to be overweight on Josh Allen pretty much every week. And Allen to Diggs certainly feels like a good combo. The other is just, I wish they didn't have so many other receivers that are solid, like Beasley, Sanders, and Davis. This is a really good Buffalo team. But I think Chase Claypool is your big play threat, your GPP type of guy. Deontay Johnson being maybe more your straight play for Pittsburgh. But I'm personally choosing Claypool this week. So I don't mind that at all this game.
I think that, by the way, if you want I guess we'll do a pick video at some point against the spread and stuff like that, or just picks. I actually think that Pittsburgh is going to have a bad year this year. I think Buffalo. I mean, look, who they lose to Kansas City, right? I mean, like they were playing really, really well, Buffalo. And I think Buffalo beats Pittsburgh kind of easily in this game, actually.
Well, going along with that, I think that the Buffalo defense is another one. I mean, we saw Roethlisberger turn the ball over a bunch last year. Yep. So Buffalo at 2,500 is hard not to like. And I kind of am with you a little bit. My natural instinct when I see this spread here, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was literally 10. But I don't agree necessarily about Pittsburgh this whole season. I just have too much faith that they always find a way to get the job done. And there still is talent on this team at the receivers and running back positions, especially. And I like their defense in general. So I think they're actually going to be I'll take the over on their wins, which I think they're picked to be 8 and 9 is like the over under. I think it's either 8 or 9.
8.5 is that what it is for them?
I think it's something like that. I'll take the 9, but I don't know if it'll be much higher than that. But I do kind of like them.
They always get 9 wins, right? I mean,
but Tomlin's never won less than half of his games there. I don't see it happening too often, but this would be the year if there was a year. All right, Chargers, Clippers. I gotta stop doing that. It's just frustrating. Every time I look at it, Charger. I almost did it again.
Clippers, Wizards.
Clippers, Wizards. And we're not playing Westbrook. Oh wait, Westbrook's not on with. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I don't have a ton of interest in this game. I think Keenan Allen is always a fine play. I think that Justin Herbert's going to have a big year. I think this Washington defense is really good. I think Antonio Gibson and Eckler are the 2 guys you want to play in this game, especially Gibson, but that's what everyone will do as well. But I do love Gibson. Gibson and Harris are probably my favorite in that, that lower tier, the 5,500 to 6,500 range. And Eckler is going to have a good season. I just don't want to play him in this matchup. He's also questionable. You'll get some Justin Jackson thrown in there as well. Some Josh Kelly will happen. Just the way the Chargers do things. And Eckler's not really an every down guy, but he's pretty awesome when he's in there. I just think Gibson's going to have a monster season this season. And that's probably my highest level of interest in this game.
Yeah, Gibson paired with the Washington defense, I think, is very, very logical. Washington's defense was very, very strong last year. For those and those who were following DFS noticed it. You know what I mean? But people that were just like watching football might not have noticed because they were just really bad. But whatever, in general. But Washington's defense is very, very strong, and so you want to compare Gibson. You want to pair Gibson with the Washington defense. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's going to be particularly earth-shattering of a take, but I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like Herbert in this offense, but there's no reason why he couldn't turn the ball over a few times against this pass rush. So I'm okay with that idea totally. And I really do like Gibson. It's just he's going to be pretty well owned, and there's plenty of other pivots if you want to find them. All
right, so I have a very, very, very strange take. Okay, in this next game. So we've talked about all these teams. We've talked about this other stuff. We'll talk about other guys, whatever it is. But for me, I think Patrick Mahomes is very, very good at football. And I think that he averages like 757 fantasy points a game. I think that Tyreek Hill is really good at football and is one of the most explosive wide receivers in the league. I think that Travis Kelce is just so far the best tight end right now, right? And he's still kind of not even young anymore, you know, but yet still he's great. I think that KC is going to come off of that Super Bowl loss or whatever it is. I think they're going to one thing that last year you might recall, and I pointed this out, they were screwing around a lot last year, like during the regular season. They would let teams into games. They would literally just wait until the last drive and then just kind of get there. I think that if they have it in them to do it, they're going to just put the fruit on the metal every single game. And I feel as though, these guys rate for me as top stacks. They rate as the top plays. And I'm just playing them, and that's what I'm doing. And then on the other side of this game, I am going to be playing Mr. Beckham. I don't know exactly why you wouldn't want to do that, except for maybe it's not as fashionable to play him anymore. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about maybe even Nick Chubb. I could play some of that, but I think that it is way too much fancy play syndrome. If people are going to, I'm going to go load up on Sam Darnold and all these Carolina guys, or play this, that, and the other thing, when I could just go play freaking Kansas City and I can get these guys in. It's not a big deal. And they can win the game 51-29 or whatever it is. And they're like, wow, XYZ was X% owned. Oh my God, a KC stack won the freaking million. How is that even possible? Well, we're going to find out. So this is one of the three. This is the other game that I'm going to be on.
Completely with you. I wish I could find a running back from KC. It's hard with the share and all the great running back options this week with Chubb and Hunt. I do think that Chubb probably has a decent enough game here, but I think that I'm probably just going to side with the receivers from Cleveland. Look, they're going to have to throw the ball to stay in this game, in my opinion. I am all over what you said. Play Mahomes with the Kelce and or Tyreek Hill. I'll throw another one for you. Everybody's going to play all these other minimum cost guys. Get ready for Byron Pringle to have a season.
Man, you and the roadie too, man. Everybody I think is smart is telling me to play Pringle. Maybe I should listen.
Well, I mean, there's so many cheap guys, right? Like, we don't need to do that. You could play Peoples-Jones on the other side too. Is probably not a bad option considering how much they're going to throw the ball. But I just want to say, and Vegas is good, but how does Jarvis Landry have a 4.5 catch prop? How does that happen in this kind of?
What about in the first half?
What about the second quarter? Seriously.
No, but I know the second half he's going to get 4.5. I don't know about the first half.
Right. No, I just think that there's no way. I'm all over this. I'm with you. I think this is look, when we have so many games rated similarly in general and all this stuff, and I say it to you probably every week last year, why aren't we just playing the KC games? You know what I mean? They force the other team, and a PPR site, especially like DraftKings. Maybe it's a little different on FanDuel, but on a PPR site, one of Beckham or Landry is going to have a game that you could argue that it could be Higgins or more likely Peoples-Jones. But I'm just going to take these guys at this low price. And I will be all over that combination. I don't care if it's a little bit chalky to play Kelsey and play Hill with Mahomes. I mean, you're talking about 10%, 12, 15%, whatever it is combined, and then run it back with OBJ, who's unowned. And there's a million other plays we've talked about who are not going to be owned. So I am all over this. I'm totally with you here. And we don't need to be so far off the board with our main stack. I just think, what are the odds that Mahomes doesn't throw for 300 yards? Not to mention that there's like a little bit of motivation after the way that they almost lost that playoff game. And there was all it shouldn't have happened. If this play doesn't happen, the Cleveland would have beaten them. I see them coming out and just firing in this one. I really like KC to just go off. And in that, I have to like Beckham and Landry on the other side. All right. Here is a really uninteresting game, right? Unless I'm completely missing. You're into the Denver, New York? Well, sell me on it.
Oh, no, that's not next on my list.
No. Oh, sorry about that.
I have the Devonta Adams, Alvin Kamara game next on my list.
Oh, okay. So that's the other one that I've got. Okay. Go ahead. You start with that one, though.
I don't think I'm going to do it. I think that if I'm playing cash games or whatever, 2+2, I think I certainly have to play. You have to consider Devonta Adams. I think you certainly have to consider. I mean, he's probably the best wide receiver player, right? And then you have to consider Alvin Kamara is probably one of the top 2 or 3 running back plays. Marquise Callaway is uber cheap, a wide receiver. I don't know. Maybe I just can't play every game, But all those guys certainly make a lot of sense. I don't know. I just feel as though Aaron Rodgers. I'd rather have guys that are just trajectories a little bit better. I don't know. And that's kind of sick coming off an MVP year or whatever it is, and coming in with something to prove also this year. New Orleans defense is good enough I think New Orleans defense is good enough to keep Devonta Adams and Aaron Rodgers off the winning lineup. How about that? That's the best I'm going to describe it. And I think that Green Bay's defense is just good enough to keep Alvin Kamara and off the winning lineup and whatever. So I think it's a perfectly good plays in this game. But for the Millie Maker, for example, I think that they're better games to stack.
I think this is a great game still. I like it. I like both sides of it. I don't mind the Jameis route. Look, you're going to get some vulture Taysom Hill. It's going to happen. That's the part that I don't like on a full slate.
Right.
But I don't understand why. Whatever. We'll get into that another time, I guess. Yeah. But I do really like this game. I'll take the over in this game too. I really think this is playing in New Orleans. I think Green Bay's defense will be better. I don't think it's amazing. I think that the New Orleans has a solid defense, but I think it's a little bit overrated. And I think I don't know about overrated anymore, but overrated. They're not as good as they were, in my opinion, a year and a half ago. I like this spot, and I think Aaron Rodgers in a dome is a thing, and it always has been a thing. And I will take Aaron Rodgers a little bit, but more importantly, it's going to be hard to keep me off of Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams and Hopkins, I think I have pretty much higher than everybody else. I don't think I want to get in MVS. According to Rhodey, looks pretty. They've said good things about him in training camp and whatnot. It's hard with the secondary receivers for Green Bay because outside of Devonta, they don't really target other people consistently. Like Brady, even more so than Brady, he spreads it around. He spreads it around so much that it's not like there's any of these guys I expect to go crazy. I think the Callaway play is, look, he's going to be really popular. I completely understand why. It's not like, Green Bay doesn't know he's their number one receiver too. Maybe he duds out and only gets like 10 fantasy points, and still you're probably not dead if he does. So I'm going to have him in my lineups. Don't get me wrong, but you can get weird and play Traquan Smith in this game, or you can double stack it with Winston to both those guys, hoping that Green Bay gets out to the early lead. I'm just not interested in the running backs as much. I love Kamara in general. I always ride for Kamara. I'm always on his, I just love this Derrick Henry pivot off of all of these guys. We just named, between Kamara, McCaffrey, and Cook are going to eat up so much of the ownership. We have another workhorse back in Tennessee that's going to have none of it. So I'm probably going to end up just doing more of the Derrick Henry thing. And yeah, he doesn't catch passes and all that stuff, but if he runs for 250 yards again with 3 touchdowns, it's not going to matter.
And you don't buy the that he's only good in December thing, right?
No, I'm not going to buy that when it comes to the percentages. Now, would I say that that's the time, and would I expect him to, in general, come out there? Do I think he's going to have a bigger day than these guys most of the time? No, but he doesn't have to. He has to do it 1 out of every 5 times. You know what I mean? maybe
Right.
one out of every 6 times. And I think he's much better than that. So that's where I'm at. This is the other game I have interest in. So I guess this would be my 3rd or 4th favorite game, depending on where I end up on the Seattle Indy game. But I do like this game quite a bit.
The next 2 games, I think I have 0.
Yeah, we're on the same page here.
Denver Giants, Miami, New England. Although I will say that that Saquon Barkley could have some good games. And the other guy that I want to keep an eye on this year, is Noah Fant, tight end for Denver. He's very talented, and like him, I don't know if maybe I'll get to some of him this week. Who knows? With some, a lot of people paying up for Kelsey and a lot of people paying down for Pitts. I mean, maybe Fant completely falls to nowhereness. But the game is going to be pretty uninspiring, I think. And the Miami New England game, I think, is going to be just a colossal avoid. I think the people will play Mac Jones at 4K or whatever it is in cash. I'm not going to play cash, so I'm just not going to do it. I think I'm just kind of off of that whole game too.
Yeah, I have a ton of interest in the Denver defense and the Denver Giants game. Other than that,
okay,
you're talking about long shot plays that I don't think are that crazy. Like you talk about pivots off of these other guys. KJ Hamler is a terrific pivot at 3,100 off of the other 3K guys that we've talked about. I think that you could make an argument for Sterling Shepard, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's going to have some ownership, but I'm a little bit lower on all that than everybody. I just am not going to be there. I really can't bring myself to make those plays on this giant slate. And I could definitely see this going one of 2 ways. For one thing, I just mentioned the Denver defense. I'm very happy to take shots with the Dolphins defense. I think they'll keep it simple. That's the only thing that worries me for Mac Jones, who I actually believe will be okay. But 2,900 for this Dolphins defense, which was like, what were they? I don't know where they ended up in the scoring list, but they were leading for a long time last year. They force all kinds of turnovers. You've got a rookie quarterback back there with, honestly, like they have more weapons than they used to have, but it's not that pretty for New England's weapons either. So that's just where I am. The only guy I can maybe get to on Miami for offensively is Jalen Waddle. Potentially Jonnu Smith for New England, you could argue, was safety blanket for Jones. But I actually think Jonnu Smith is a pretty reasonable play. But I think that Jalen Waddle would be my most interested in. Other than that, it's going to be mostly the Dolphins defense for me. I don't want this to be that weird, sneaky shootout because everything in me is telling me that this game is not going to go right and it's going to be ugly and all this stuff. And it's just, I just have this like weird, like gut feeling that something weird happens here. And I am one of the only people, including probably the Dolphins staff, that still thinks Tua is going to be a very good quarterback. I don't think this is the spot you want to play him. And even if you did, I'm not sure exactly who you'd want to play him with other than Waddle. So yeah, it's really hard to find for DFS purposes, a lot of interest in this game for me. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So I guess to recap, I hope that my analysis was not to just play whoever you want. You know what I mean? Because the fact is that you're to win these GPPs, you're going to have to be on the right blow up game. I mean, you just are. So it does make some sense to spread out a little bit. But for me, I mean, I'm gonna just take shots on a couple of games and we'll just kind of see what happens. But I definitely think that Kansas City would be certainly one of them. And I'm telling you, I'm kind of into this other thing, this Tennessee Arizona thing. I think that I think Derrick Henry could have good games, but I just don't. I think this. I think this game is a clown show. I really do. I think it's gonna be a zillion points scored in this game, and it's one of those things that if God forbid, like Arizona comes out really hot and scores the first touchdown and gets Tennessee mad or whatever, and then it gets even faster, I think this game can go ballistic. I think, like you said, I mean, Julio Jones, nobody plays him anyway anymore. Like they didn't play him last year, and now he's maybe not even considered the top option. I don't think anybody's going to play him.
Yeah, we'll see if he's the really top option. I mean, this guy, first of all, he was, what's really weird is he still was like, was he like the 5th best receiver in the NFL last year, even though he was hurt?
Yeah.
And he was the best receiver in the NFL before that. So I'm very, very happy to take those. You kind of sold me a little bit. I mean, I'm always into the Arizona games in general, but you sold me even a little bit more on that because I think those Tennessee plays are just going to be completely overlooked.
And not only that, but what's his name? Tannehill can run stuff in too. Like if you want to play Tannehill.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, maybe I'm a little bit too high on this Atlanta thing. So maybe I'll pair off a little bit there. Maybe I'll get to one of the games that we discussed instead of that. But I definitely like the Kansas City. And if they go like underowned just because people are going to get too fancy, I mean, that's I think an enormous mistake.
Yeah.
And I guess the other one maybe I'll get onto a little more is maybe New Orleans is a dome. It is in a dome. Maybe I'll get more on that, but that I guess will be my. I don't even know what's off the board anymore. I guess Arizona 10. I guess Kansas City game would be my obvious play. Then Tennessee would be my lower owned one. Maybe Philly, Atlanta. I don't know whether that's going to be highly owned. I know that the Pitts is going to be highly owned, right? Yep. But maybe the whole stack is not going to be highly owned. So maybe I
agree. Nobody's playing Pittsburgh except for Harris. So I
didn't mean Pittsburgh. I meant Atlanta. Sorry.
Oh yeah. They will get some ownership in that game. It'll be because of the prices of the receivers and stuff. But
because of Pitts, like I said.
Yeah, Pitts too.
I said Pitts, not Pittsburgh. Sorry.
Oh yeah. That's what I made a note to myself, Pitts, and I'm like, do I really like Pittsburgh? Wait, no, that was Michael Pitts. So I have number one as the Cleveland KC game. I have it, really close between Seattle, Indy, and Green Bay, New Orleans as my second and third. And then I do think my fourth favorite game would be the Arizona Tennessee game, with Pittsburgh and Buffalo coming in after that. So that's it, with some plays from the Philly Atlanta game. A lot of other guys I'll use like 1v1s, for receiver running back situations, but I don't think I'm going to be stacking any other games with the quarterbacks that aren't those games. That's just my first, at my first glance, except for maybe I could sell myself to a Carolina or Atlanta game, but I think mostly I want to stay to those four game stacks. All right, man. Well, this was good. This was good. It's a good little run through, guys. Hopefully it's helpful. It's going through a lot of plays. Obviously we'll answer more before lock. I'll show you guys my exact percentages on TrueDFS.com. Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. Sounds good.
All right. Good luck everybody this weekend. Let's crush it.